Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about grades and why they're important in your high school career. So on the screen here, you can see that I've created the grade scale. 100 to 93 is an A, 92 to 85 is a B, 84 to 75 is a C, and 74 to 70 is a D, and 69 to 0 is an F. So, I know that some of you guys have gotten through middle school with making Fs and you keep getting passed to the next grade, because I hear that from parents wanting their kids in summer school or wanting to know what we're going to do. And usually at the middle and the elementary school level, we don't hold kids back anymore. It's just not something that we do. However, in high school, grades are a lot different because the state of Tennessee requires that you pass these classes. So if you do not pass a class, meaning a 69 or below, you have to retake the test or the class. So for example, let's say in the fall, you do not pass English. Well, I look at your spring semester, and let's say you have a class like culinary arts that you really are excited to take. I take you out of culinary arts and you get to retake English until you pass it. So that is definitely something that is a lot different than middle school and that you need to be prepared for. So the magic number is 70. You have to have a 70 in a class in order to pass it. When you pass a class, you earn something called a credit, and we're going to talk about those in just a few minutes. So something else that is different than in middle school is something called a GPA. It's also a grade point average. So when you get an A, you get 4 points. When you get a B, you get 3 points. When you get a C, you get 2 points. When you get a D, you get 1 point. And when you have an F, you get 0 points. And so to calculate your GPA, what we do is we add up your points and we divide by the number of classes that you've taken. So let's take, for example, let's say this semester in math I have a B, which equals 3 points. In English I have an A, and so that's 4 points. Intro to business, I have a B, and that's 3 points. In wellness, I have a C. Maybe I'm not liking wellness too much, and that gives me 2 points. So when I add up my points, that equals 12. How many classes did I take? 4. So I divide by 4, and that gives me 3. So my GPA is a 3.0. You could actually log into your PowerSchool account right now. Look at your grades that you currently have, assign them the point that's associated with that grade, add them up and divide by 4, and you'll be able to see your GPA. We're going to talk in a few minutes about why that GPA is important. At the end of the year, you can look at all 8 classes that you've taken. You will assign each grade a point value, and then you would divide by 8 because you've had 8 classes by then, okay? So when you pass a class, you earn a credit. You have 8 classes per year, and each class is worth 1 credit. So let's take example this year. Hopefully by May you will have earned 8 credits. That means that you got a 70 or higher in every single class. So 8 credits. How many years are you in high school? 4. You're in high school for 4 years. So if we take 8, multiply it by 4, that's 32 credits. You have the ability to earn 32 credits while you're in high school. To graduate from Cleveland High School, you need 28 credits. So if we do our math here, you have 4 extra credits. What do we use those for? Well, if you're a really good student, you will use them for dual enrollment, which means that when you're a junior or a senior, you can actually go to Lee University or Cleveland State and start taking college classes and getting some of those courses offered. If you can't take dual enrollment, then you get to take classes that you think are fun, like driver's ed or psychology or something else that you're interested in. Now, if you're failing classes, kind of like I gave the example, if you failed English and then we have to retake that, that uses up one of your 4 credits. So you cannot fail a core class. So with credits, you have 28 credits to graduate. That might seem like a little bit overwhelming, but each year you're required courses, right? So like this year you had to take a fine art, you had to take wellness. Well, the same thing happens whenever you're a sophomore and a junior and a senior. We have required classes that you can take. If you look at the attachments, you'll see a 4-year course sequence. So it will let you know every year what classes you need to take. And you also find a graduation checklist. So my job is to make sure that you keep on track to graduate. So you see this big guy right here? This is all of my freshmen from last year. I go through and make sure that they have all of their classes that they need to graduate. And then I have to meet with the kids that are not on track to graduate. So let's talk about that real quick. What happens when you fail a class? Some people think that because the school is so big and there's so many students that they can kind of slide under, that nobody will pay attention, that they didn't pass their math class or their science class. That is false. Every couple weeks I have a meeting and we pull grades to see who's failing and who is at risk. What does at risk mean? It means that you're at risk for not graduating on time. It means that you are at risk for going to the Denning Center. So when you start failing a lot of classes, we can actually send you to the Denning Center, which is the alternative school over downtown Cleveland. And you'll have the ability to maybe make up some of those credits. It is not ideal place that you'd want to spend your high school career. Sometimes you have summer school. Sometimes we do something called credit recovery. Again, when we do credit recovery, that takes one of your fun classes away and puts you in credit recovery. So kind of what I'm trying to explain to you is that you need to pass every single one of your classes. So we have after school tutoring. You need to talk to your teachers. You can come and talk with me or Mr. Riggins, but all of your classes are important. And if you have the PowerSchool app, or even if you go on the PowerSchool website, you can see your grades every single day. You can see assignments that you have turned in or assignments that you haven't turned in, and that is your responsibility. Now, what I've noticed here is that when kids miss school a lot, they are more likely to be in my binder for being at risk and not passing classes. So let's talk about that attendance policy. Attendance policy is a little bit different here than at Cleveland Middle School. And this is how it works. When you have 3 tardies, that equals 1 unexcused absence, okay? You have 10 minutes to get to class. At 8 minutes, you get a warning bell. Most of your classes as a freshman are right around this office. There should be no reason that you are tardy to class. If you are, it's because you're talking, you're taking up too much time going to the bathroom, you're walking too slow. That is your responsibility to get to class on time. So when you're tardy 3 times to any class, 3 tardies equals 1 unexcused absence. Now, if you're tardy to one particular class a lot, that teacher may write a referral and you may have to do after-school detention. Nevertheless, you still have an unexcused absence. When you're at 5 unexcused absence, you'll get a letter home, and that's a warning. Hey, you're not following our attendance policy. Little Johnny needs to make sure that he turns in some notes or has a meeting with Mr. Riggins. At 7 unexcused absences, you get a $50 citation. At 9 unexcused absences, we send you to court. Sometimes it's campus court and sometimes it's juvenile court. You have 5 parent notes that you can use every semester. So 5 in the fall and 5 in the spring. What is a parent note? Hey, Miranda's not feeling so well. Maybe I'm kind of just got a headache. I don't need to go to the doctor, but I don't really want to come to school either. So my mom would write a note. Miranda isn't feeling well. Please excuse Miranda from school today. You have 3 days from the time that you are absent till the time that you come back to school to get in those notes. After 3 days, we don't accept the notes. So make sure that as soon as you come back to school, you have a parent note or a doctor's note and you turn those into the attendance office. That is Miss Droke or Miss Garcia at the very front of the school. They have like a little basket. Just toss your notes in there. So just kind of the rule of thumb is, if you're not at school, you need a parent note or a doctor's note. Make sure that you turn those notes in as soon as you get back to school to make sure that you stay out of trouble. The more you're at school, the better you're going to do in your classes, the more likely you're not going to have any credit or graduation issues. Again, you should have received your handbook. Attendance policy is in the handbook in case you ever forget it. Oh, okay. Okay, so one of the things that's different about high school is something called a transcript. A transcript is an official documentation of your high school career. So I don't want to say that kindergarten through 8th grade didn't matter, but kind of it didn't. Now we're in the big school. This is where the important decisions and the important classes are taken. So a transcript is every class that you've taken from 9th grade to 12th grade. Typically, when you become a senior, the college that you're applying for, if you're planning on going into the military or into really any like work-based program, they all ask for an official transcript, your official high school transcript. So on this transcript, it will have every class you've ever taken and the grade that you received in that class. What we've noticed is in the past few years, people who maybe have graduated in the 70s and the 80s, they're coming back and asking for a copy of their transcript, and that's because they're applying for jobs and those people that are hiring want a copy. So let's kind of think about like long range thinking. Maybe you have a poor attitude about school right now. Maybe things at home are not going the way that you want them and you just don't care about school. This is a temporary situation. Let's say you're getting bad grades because of these things that are going on. Now let's skip 20 years. You've gotten your act together, you need money, you're out of those situations, out of that home, you're an adult, you're applying for a job at Volkswagen or Walker, you're going to be making $20, $25 an hour, and your supervisor says, hey, I need a copy of your high school transcript. Do you want them to see that you failed all those classes or that you got D's? So kind of the moral of the story is things that you do when you're 14 years old can and will affect you well into your future. And you need to know that and you need to prepare for that. What's on your transcript? Well, not only is every single class that you've ever taken with the grade on the transcript, but it also has something called a class rank. When you become a senior, Miss Guthrie will look at everybody's transcript and she will rank you from 1, let's say there's 405 kids in your class that are getting ready to graduate. She will rank you number 1, which is the valedictorian, all the way to 405. So on your transcript, it could say you are ranked number 25 out of 405 students. Not too bad. Do you want to be ranked 404 out of 405? That means you're at the very bottom. So we have class rank, so that's something that you might not want your future employer or your college admittance people to see. You maybe want them to see like you're number 100 of 405 students. That means that you are better than 305 of them. It will also have your GPA of your entire high school career on there as well. So I know I'm just trying to help you guys think about the future and how what you're doing right now in 9th grade is going to affect you on the long term. It's not something that I'm just sitting here and talking about and you might be daydreaming or something during this video. It's something that we deal with on a daily basis of people coming back to school, coming back here to Cleveland and saying, I need a transcript. I'm decided to go back to college. I decided that I'm going to apply for this job and they need a copy of it. I don't want you to be embarrassed to be able to hand that over. I want you to be able to come in confident because you know that you worked hard and you got good grades and that you can give that or turn that in. Okay. So going along with talking about setting some academic goals, I want you to be aware of 2 academic scholar type programs that we have at Cleveland High School so that you can go ahead and prepare for those. One is the Rater Scholar. To be a Rater Scholar, you have to have a 3.5 GPA. You have to take 4 AP classes or 2 AP and 2 dual enrollment classes over the next 4 years. And you must take 3 honors classes each year. 2 out of the 3 honors classes have to be a core class. So core classes are English, math, science, and social studies. So 2 out of those 3. We have some classes like digital media or health science education. Those are also honors classes and they will count towards the Rater Scholar, but you have to make sure that every year you take at least 2 core honor classes. The other academic scholar that you can strive for and set some goals for is the Graduate of Distinction. That is a 4.0 GPA, so that's straight A's every year for the 4 years that you're at Cleveland High School, so that you've never made a B. It's straight A's. So it's important to go ahead and set those goals here in 9th grade for what you want to do whenever you're a senior. I think that we had maybe 12 kids that graduated with a Graduate of Distinction this past year. It would be great to increase that number. So go ahead and set those goals now. Set high goals. Gives you something to work towards.